Welcome, everyone. It's time for another episode of Off the Hinges, the podcast where the gate got knocked down and the cattle are going everywhere. We'll be doing some questions that have to do with the arena life and some questions that are outside of the arena life, and we'll see if we can get everything gathered back up. I'm joined today, as always, again with Addison Worsema, the youthful side of the question asking. And she's got someone special to the rodeo world with her today, and I'm going to let her introduce on this one because she's got prefixes that go in front of this one's name.
So we have John Irvin today. Me and my sister call him Uncle John. My dad lived with you in college, right?
Yep.
Through shoeing school.
Yep. He was my intern.
Yep. So.
Well, I'm glad to sit down with you, John. We were just talking just a little bit here. I go back with John from the team roping days and whatnot, but John goes back with my family even before I was born. John, you lived fairly close there, I think, to where Grandma and Grandpa had horses.
I lived in Laketon.
Yeah. I think maybe, did you have a red horse maybe that my grandma used to have or something back in them days too?
No, I don't think so.
I thought my uncle said that maybe you had picked up one of the horses or something back then, but
no.
Anyhow, John, that we'll ask you a few questions here, and what we start off with normally is kind of what we call the hot lap around the arena, just kind of how you got started with horses, and then what all you've done competitive wise with them.
Well, I guess I grew up in them. My dad had horses. He was a horseshoer. That's all I've known, horses. I've made my living shoeing horses. I shot horses for 50 years. And 2 years ago, I retired. You know how it is when you get old.
Not yet, but I'm getting there. I'm starting to get a glimpse at it.
It's a tough deal, but yeah, like I said, I shot horses for 50 years. When I was in school, we high school rodeoed, never went to college. And
where did you go to school at the high school?
In Colorado.
In Colorado.
Florence, Colorado.
Is that southern Colorado?
No, it's about right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Yeah. Below, you know where Pueblo's at?
Mm-hmm.
It's not too far from Pueblo, south of Colorado Springs.
I see.
And little school, but we had a rodeo team, and there was we had a really good team. We had one kid, Virgil Lawson. He went to the Nationals, won the all-around, won the bareback riding, third in the bulldogging. He went on to go to Casper College on a full ride. And when he got to college, he was on the National Collegiate team that won the world. So we had a lot of talent.
Yeah.
There was another kid there, Jay Himes. He's a reserve world champion bareback rider. Tom Elliott, he was a reserve world champion bulldogger. So there was pretty good talent out there where I went to school.
I'm sure. Did you guys have a town arena like that you practiced out of, or did?
No, but everybody had arenas back there in Colorado. You know, we roped a lot, and we didn't get a lot of practice riding bucking horses, but my dad, being the guy he was, we broke horses, and if a horse come in, you never got to lunging, you never got to do nothing but put your saddle on, lean back, and let her rip.
Yeah.
So that's how we practiced, you know, on colts. And if somebody had a horse they couldn't ride, well, they brought it to our house, and we got bucked off, and, you know.
So what events did you do then in high school?
I did everything but bulldog.
Everything but bulldog.
Yeah. And I should have done that, but I was a big chicken.
You get off.
I didn't see getting off a perfectly good horse on that steer running about 30 miles an hour. My dad would just cuss, "You got to get out. You got." No, I don't.
I'm good here.
I'm all right. And there he goes.
How many guys were riding like at a high school rodeo in the horse events? So what years would that have been?
See, I graduated in 65, so it would have been like 62 to 65, 62. Yeah.
Yeah. How many guys would be on that, in the horse events, in the Bronx?
In the Bronx and
yeah.
stuff? Oh, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of cowboys out there, that
Sure.
rode bucking horses and bulls. Lots of bull riders. Lots of bronc. There's probably more bareback riders than bronc riders. I
Yeah.
was a saddle bronc rider, and yeah, it was big time back there.
How old was Chris Ledoux? Because he was out of Colorado too, wasn't he? When he started with the
He's from Wyoming.
yeah, but didn't he high school in Colorado? And I thought he was.
No, I never seen him in any high school rodeos in Colorado.
I thought his dad's place was in Colorado, and then he moved to KC
I don't
later.
think
But
so.
maybe he wasn't.
But he
always
was in the
Wyoming.
same age group.
Yeah.
He went to the college finals with Virgil. He was on the rodeo team.
Oh, now I know. Was it Bruce Ford? Was it?
Yeah,
Well, he was from
Colorado.
Colorado. Yeah.
But I don't know if he's as old as we are or younger. He must be younger than we are.
I see. That's
I
who I
mean,
was
and I
thinking
am
of.
not
Yeah, he was
way
from the Front Range down there.
Yeah, yeah.
So then you got after Colorado and high school rodeo. Give us kind of the rest of the lap around the arena.
Well, after high school rodeo, I worked I worked in a construction company, but that wasn't no good. And I got a job on a ranch. We just had Corriente steers. They'd ship them up from El Paso. I worked for Jess Berner. He was probably the biggest exporter of Mexican cattle in the world at the time. So he had ranches in Colorado, Montana, New Mexico, Texas. And he'd ship up about 400 head of steers in April, and we'd gather them in October. And they're just like goats. I don't know if anybody's had anything with Corrientes in pastures, but they can just walk through a fence, just slicker and walk cattle guards, nothing mattered. We found them 10 miles from the main ranch. People was calling us all the time going, your blankety blank steers are mowing in my grass now. They got in town. They were everywhere. Like I said, they were just like goats. We had a lot of practice ropes, wild cattle out there.
I bet.
It was fun. It was really fun.
Was that in the same area of Colorado
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
So you're still fairly close to home.
Yep. We built a new roping arena, and we built there on the ranch. Of course, I was the foreman of the ranch. I was the only hired man, so I called myself the foreman.
Right.
Virgil was the boss, and his wife was there, and there was three of us guys, all the same age, playing cowboys. We had a riot.
I bet.
It was a good time. But we built a big scale there so we could drive the steers in and then ship them out. Semis come right there to the ranch, and we'd ship them out. And then I got married, and everything went downhill. My cowboy days were over. Had reality check. You can't do that the rest of your life. So, yep.
I have some experience in that.
That's when I took up shoeing horses more serious than, because I started with my dad as a kid. I'd go help him finish, and pull shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then he got so I was trimming feet and finishing, and Dad was just shaping shoes and nailing them on, and I was getting nothing. He was getting all the money. So then I went to Oklahoma Farriers College and went to school, and I took off on my own.
Yeah.
Moved to, my ex-wife is from here in Illinois, so she convinced me we need to move back here because she didn't like it out west.
It'll happen.
Yeah, we was back here for a couple of years the first time. I come home one day and I said, pack your bags. I said, we're moving. You can't do that. Yes, I can. So I went back to Colorado for another couple of years and found I wasn't going to make it shoeing horses because we lived on a place way out in the middle of nowhere. It was too far. We didn't even have a telephone where we lived. We had electricity,
Yeah.
no telephone. So her parents lived across the way, lived right across from the Royal Gorge Bridge. I don't know, everybody's probably heard of the Royal Gorge, but you could see the bridge from our house. But anyway, I'd have to go over there, get the phone calls. Wasn't good, so we moved back here, and I've been back here ever since.
And then when you come back here, then is it 73 when you started the high school rodeo here?
Because I was just thinking about that this morning. It's been at least 50 years ago.
Yeah. But you were on the founding board then.
Well, there was the one guy there was two guys that was into it. They wanted to start Illinois rodeo. They'd had older kids, none of them got to rodeo, so they wanted to start it. So they started gathering up people that had been in the high school, done the rodeo,
So was it just open shows and stuff that at that time in Illinois that they were going with their kids before the association started?
It must have been, because like I say, 50-some years ago, it's a little tough to remember, but they called us up and had a meeting at some spot in Peoria.
Yeah.
But the one guy was a lawyer, so he could get all this stuff drawn up, contact the right people.
I see.
And the rest of us just put our input in, and helped out. I think the first year we had the high school rodeo, it was in Milan. I can't remember where in Milan, but it wasn't very big. I think it was maybe 2 days, 1 day. I can't remember. It's been a long time ago.
Sure.
But it turned out really good, and then it just took off.
Yeah.
I was a calf roping director for a couple of years because I roped a lot of calves when I was younger. I didn't bulldog, remember?
Right. Not the bulldog director.
No, I rode before I moved back here, I went to Cheyenne and got in the amateur bronc riding because I thought I was a real bronc rider. I wasn't. They bucked me off twice, man. I mean, and I had, back then, Sean Davis was a world champion bronc rider. He set my saddle, gave me my rein. That didn't help.
Everything set right and just the right amount of amount of tug there, and still got bumped off on you.
Fucked me off. Didn't take him long either. I wasn't much of a crowd pleaser.
Oh my goodness. Well, all these years, I've known you since birth, basically. Never knew any of this kind of stuff, though. But
Really?
yeah.
I got in on, believe it or not, this is another Wild Westy story that people don't know, but I got in on branding the first cow that they had the first registered brand in Illinois.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this guy decided he was a cowboy, wanted to brand his one cow, so he registered a brand, and me and another guy went over and roped this cow, stretched it out, and put the brand on it. We made TV and everything, from branding this cow. First cow ever branded in Illinois.
I think they still have a brand registry.
I think they do.
That's in Illinois.
Mm-hmm. I can't even remember this guy's name. Like I say, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. Probably took us 10 times trying to catch it,
Right.
Get it branded.
For one cow.
One cow.
My grandpa's got one registered in Illinois. That's why Dollar is Dollar and not Fred or something else like that. It's because the brand is like a DLP. It's all kind of put together.
Yeah.
Because he was David Lee Perham, and then so Dollars, we needed a D name, and a lot of them were already used in the family, so he ended up Dollar Lee Perham.
Well, that's good.
We always tell everybody if he ends up real smart, we'll call him Lee, but but if he's just gonna rodeo and cowboy, he'll probably be Dollar for forever. So.
That's a good cowboy name.
Right. So we ask everybody that we sit down with if it wasn't horses and it wasn't horseshoeing and the equine side of things, what would it have been that was always kind of second place that you was kind of had your attention?
This is going to kill you.
You'd be surprised what people say.
I was going to be a barber.
A barber, no kidding. And cut hair. Yeah. I could see that with you though, because you're meticulous with your horses and your tack and your trucks and that type of stuff. I mean, just what I know of you, you've always got the best looking outfit whenever you show up at a team roping. I mean, truck, trailer, head stall, the horse is clean, shiny.
Well, that and the leather work.
That's got to be some of that calf roper in you too. Calf ropers always have pretty
Yeah,
horses and
yeah.
pretty tack.
Yeah.
Team ropers.
They don't have to worry about getting real dirty.
Team ropers sit out in the dust all day, I guess.
Man. It was Dusty at Juniors the other day. Holy
I always feel bad for you at juniors. I think I've even said that before. Like, we ought to go out and pick you up at the highway so you don't have to drive in there.
Drive my truck there. It's terrible.
So being a barber, I'll be.
Yep.
So, what would you say, like, through your high school, college years would be the biggest lesson that you learned or that you would share with, like, my generation?
Do not bulldogs.
Don't be like Casey.
That's right. Don't be like your dad. Well, I think the camaraderie of being there, with all your buddies and your friends, and it learns you to be a good sport, stuff like that. And you got to be around horses. So, like I say, everything you see around here is all horses. If it wasn't for horses, there would be nothing.
Sure.
In my book,
Right.
in my place.
Yeah. I see a lot of that in my dad that he must have learned from you, too, because he says the same things that you do.
Really.
Yeah. Yep.
I would have never noticed it.
We asked this too, but with the detail and care that you take over your vehicles, we always ask, what was your favorite thing that you've had as far as truck and trailer that was like reliable and got you where you wanted to be? And I mean, you've got a time span of hauling horses that's way longer than all the rest of us, but from new vehicles all the way back to when you're first starting, what is like the truck and trailer setup that you remember that you like the best going?
I don't know. I had a Buick Riviera, and I don't know what I don't know what year they first made them, but I think mine was 60. Whenever they first made them, mine was the second year made. Maroon, had a 2-horse trailer, and this car was so hot that you could stop at a stop sign, smash it, and burn the tires all the way across with your horses in the back of this car. This thing would run like a wild Indian. It was fun to drive,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I've had some really cool stuff. I had a yellow Chevy pickup that I really, really liked. 2-horse inline trailer. That was the only bad thing is I couldn't back it. The reason I don't own one today is I can't back them up. I got this 1-horse trailer now that I can back up, but
Your 2-horse was on a dolly on the front?
Yep.
Yeah, so trying to back up a really short tongue hay rack.
yeah, I would wear out the power steering on that truck trying to back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I remember one time me and Maddie's dad, Casey, we went to Springfield to a roping, and we're going to get there, and I said, Casey, we got to get there first or last, because we cannot park this sucker nowhere, shape, or form. And we got there, and the guy comes up and he says, "Hey, you're gonna have to back up." I thought, "Oh no, this is not gonna work." I think Casey and I backed it up maybe 6 foot just to get it out of the way so people would get past us, but. Other than that, it was a riot. People would say, "Here he comes," punk, and there we'd stop right there. Or if we got there first, we'd get the choice parking spot, so we knew we could get out. Otherwise, we were done.
Josh Phillips just got his first inline this winter. He won one at a goat roping on a Turnbow 2-horse inline trailer, and he's trying to find a big car to pull it with.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I know where he learned that from.
That Buick would really get it going. I mean, back then, there was no 55 speed limit. All the 2-lane roads were all 70.
Yeah.
So you could be flying down through there. It was different. Because I had 2 of them. I had one when I was, let's see, it must have been 40 years ago. Thought I'd never own another one, but I did. Because I thought they're really cool. Nobody's got one, and I like to be different than everybody. I like to have stuff nobody's got.
Sure.
Might not be talented, but when I pull in, I want to look good.
Well, you've succeeded.
Like when I was in high school, I had satin shirts.
Yeah.
My dad says, "Well, you got to look good even if you can't ride." Thanks, Dad.
One of the other questions that we always ask is the favorite horse that you've had, what they were bred like, and why they were your favorite.
Well, I've had a couple. I had Fat Jack, a big Palomino horse.
That's who I learned on.
He was a two-eyed Jack bred horse.
Yeah.
Then I got Chrome down here in the pasture. He's a smart little Lena. And I had a really good gray horse that was pleasure bred, but we made a rope horse out of him, and he was really. See, there's a picture of him up there. Where is it? I don't know. Must took it down. And then the best calf horse would be like this little at mare that you can just see me on the ground. Mm-hmm. I did catch one. that was probably the best horse I ever rode, and it was an at mare.
Yeah.
But we roped calves, roped steers, run barrels. Anything you could do with that mare, you could do it on that mare.
You want to know something that's funny, John, that we've just, through these first few that we've done, is that you have, that's at mare that you rode. Josh Phillips had that black horse, and not everybody knew it, but that was an app horse that he had. And Dale Bogner's favorite horse is that Rob horse that he has, and he's app bred too.
Yeah.
Out of it, so I'm starting to see a trend of people that have had Appaloosa horses.
App gelding, I won the world 3 years in a row at the App World Show, and the non-pro calf roping on him. But he was a good horse, but that mare is the best.
And where did those horses come from?
Oh, let's see. The App mare came from a guy in Springfield, Missouri. The App gelding came from a guy, I bought him Table Mountain, Arkansas. So you know how that goes. You're back in the hills.
Sure.
So they had him, and I bought him. Sent him to Webb Parlier to make a calf roping horse out of him, because all they did was team roped on him. And Webb made a calf roping horse out of him. And the little mare, this guy, what's his name? I can't remember, but he had this mare, and she wasn't really trained up, but she caught on real quick. Like Donna won tons of money at them IPRA barrel races, you know, because they're on the track, little arenas. She stood about 14.3, so she would just eat them alive in them little tracks. Yeah. But then I went to roping calves on her, and she was great.
What is it that you look for when you look at a horse?
Pretty.
They got to be pretty.
Got to be good looking.
I believe you. We ask, you know, guys like you've had a lot of really good horses, and there's a lot of young people that listen to this that have got to spend some money here buying horses through the next parts of their life.
I think you look for one. Well, if you buy a young one, you know, you kind of got to go a little on the bloodlines, a little on the looks, and but I think you got to have one that's really broke good in order to go on and make anything out of. You know, you can buy these horses that ain't broke, you know. But if you really want a good one, you got to have one that's broke. Yeah. You know, anybody can ride, you know, good mind, stuff like that. But I think the main part is having a broke to do anything. That way they catch on a little quicker, I think. Of course, my ex-wife was a really good horse trainer, so I didn't ride him until he turned 4. She rode him up until then, but she put the handle on him and everything, which made it really nice for me to ride. Sure. You know, if I was going to go rope on one, it would broke. Yeah.
So we always ask also if there was one thing, we all have things that we would change about how we went about something or a rodeo or something. Do you have a specific memory that you would change or do differently?
Because everybody always has their favorite memory where they won this or won that. But
I got one. My dad always told me you had to have a long seat in them bronc riding, the association saddles. Well, I think, now this is what I think. I think that I had too big a saddle, you know, because you get to floating up there, next thing you know, you ain't getting no swells because back and forth.
Right.
But I think that if I'd have changed things, I'd have got me a good saddle. You know, I
Yeah.
think I'd have been a lot better bronc rider than just riding. Dad always left the saddle horns on him, you know, because he figured, oh, you need something to grab hold of in case there's a wreck, you know. We didn't always ride our bronc saddles on at the rodeos, you know. We might ride a colt or something with it, you know. But if I had to change anything in my career, I would have got me a better saddle and got better tack. You know, I think good tack, good saddles, good horses. Without it, you ain't going to compete. Not in this day and age.
Did you do leather work and stuff out of necessity at a young age, and then just kind of get?
No,
because not
'cause-
everybody probably knows that about you either. That
No, I think I started because, like I say, we lived out away from town, so we didn't go to town. So I started doing leather work, you know, in the evenings and stuff to have something to do, and I just kept going, you know. And now it ain't a business, but it's a good hobby,
yeah,
you know. And I make some stuff that I'm pretty proud of. you
yeah.
know.
I as a grandpa, you know, doing all that leather carving and stuff all the years, I always kind of watch that, and I got a lot of buddies that build saddles and, you know, look at your tack that you have and your bits and how you hang them, and you know, and I don't think everybody pays attention to that, but if they ever,
I don't either, because
ever-
I see people with bits hanging down their horse's mouth, and boy, he just won't stop. He won't do this, and I don't go, hey, you know, if you adjusted your bridle up, you wouldn't have part of that problem you're having now, or you know. But you kind of got to, through the years, you know, you kind of pick up on this stuff. That's the reason I'm older than everybody else. I'm the oldest guy at the team ropings anymore.
snuck up on you probably, didn't
But
it?
they feel sorry for me and give me breaks, you know. I go there and help them wrap cattle. There's about 12. I get one wrapped, and the rest of them, they get done without me. You got to play that old age card while you can.
Sure. I mean, young people need to find somebody like you, like Casey did,
Yeah.
you know, with you, that because you won't get a lot of that information at a rodeo just in passing. You know, you need to kind of find somebody that
Right.
has their act together. That's why we do these podcasts like this, is I want this information to get to the younger people. I was fortunate, you know, to have some older people
Right.
that really took me under their wing, and you know, by the time I was, you know, high school age and stuff, Grandpa had gotten, you know, fairly famous with the artwork part of it, and was, you know, the horses were kind of sidelined while he was chasing that stuff around the country. So, you know, but there's been, you know, some people out west, you know, in Wyoming and stuff that really took me under their wing. And then I'm just fortunate to get, you know, a few buddies that,
Right.
you know, were into tack and building custom saddles. And once you have a, you know, tack that's built for you, you know, and,
Right.
you know, hand stitch type stuff, you start to feel, it just feels different. It
Yeah.
rides different, you know, and then I got to go back and get on a factory saddle or something like that. I
Yeah.
just feel like I got back in the Ford Tempo or something. That it just doesn't feel the same. So,
Right. Well, I had Todd Sloan build me 2 rope saddles.
yeah.
You know, that's when he was building saddles from start to finish. You know, now I think he's got other people there that do parts of them or not, but I got 2 original Sloan saddles that I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah.
And my arena's starting to grow up with weeds, so I got to get out there and mow it. But
It ain't from rain. We sure haven't had
No.
much of that here lately.
That's terrible, ain't it?
Yeah, it's not the best year to go first year of having tillable crops
No.
where we live right
No.
now. So I wanted to try it. I've never had my own tillable ground. You know, we've had hay ground and stuff like that.
Can you sing?
Dollar is with us today, sitting at the table trying to be quiet with the best of his ability.
He's doing good.
Where is your favorite place that you've been? We usually ask that too, whether it's a roping somewhere or a rodeo, that some place that you always look forward to going to, or used to always forward to going to.
Well,
Like it was
here lately, I've been going to Arizona in the wintertime, which is pretty special. You know, I didn't go last year because I fell off my horse and hit the fence and about broke my shoulder and tore my meniscus up in my knee, and I just had a bad year last year, so we took a year off.
Should have just went steer wrestling if you were going to do all that.
I know it. I had the knee for it. Yeah. Put a brace on it, pretend I was somebody.
Sure. What part of Arizona do you go to?
Wickenburg.
Wickenburg. Oh yeah, right on the front of your shirt.
Well, we used to go down there about a month, and then went 2 months, and then last year we missed a year because my buddy Neil Schallenbarger, you know Neil?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he had a trailer out there. I'd stay with him in the wintertime in his trailer, but then he sold his trailer, so we had no place to stay last year. So this year, me and a buddy rented a little casita house, and we'll get a couple stalls. So we're going to go back for another 1 month this year.
1 month.
January 1st till January the 31st.
It's a good time to not be in Illinois.
That's a good time not to be in Illinois. Well, they said last year, or this year, Arizona was really bad.
Really?
We probably picked the best year not to go. Was this year because it was cold, rainy, and the wind blowing. They said it wasn't good at all.
Because Neil didn't go either this year.
No,
I thought
he sold his trailer.
Yeah, I don't remember where we just run into him the other day, and I was talking to him, and he said, "Oh yeah, he did." Because Juniors was going on when New Windsor was going on, and he stopped by there at the rodeo after he got done at Juniors.
Yeah.
And he said he'd stay back, but.
And I really liked, back when I was a lot younger, going to the mountains out there in Colorado. You know, that was always a good time.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's cooler. You know, scenery's great. There's nobody around. You don't have to worry about where you go to the bathroom.
I drove across Colorado one time down to kind of where you were at down there, which would have been a little more central and farther south, but Swatch, Colorado, down there, and the whole time we were fighting snow and stuff, they were telling us about the banana belt down there in Swatch, Colorado, how it stays nice and warm all the time.
Did they lie?
They did lie. We got down. They didn't have heat in the houses though. That's what we found out when we got down there. We were moving the guy down there, and there's no heat, so there's a bunch of us that we fought coming across Breckenridge and, through the real mountain passes and chained up. And there was some of the guys come up from that country who all drove 2-wheel drive pickups. They didn't even have 4-wheel drive pickups. So we'd have to unhook and go down and then pull their rig up the mountain. And it took us a long time to get down there. We got down there, no heat in the house. And we all slept in the kitchen with the oven on. And I was like,
doing that.
I said, I see all your banana pickers heading over the hill.
Yeah,
But,
no kidding.
but I do, that part of that Colorado is really beautiful.
Well, right there
where
where I lived in Penrose, Colorado. Florence is just down the road. We went to school. And then Canyon City. And there's a train station, the train comes through Canyon City, and there's a big sign there that says, "Welcome to the climate capital of Colorado."
Yeah.
And it could be January, you could get a foot of snow, and 2 days later it's gone because the sun shines there all the time. It'd be 65 in January some places.
Yeah. We always, Del Norte, Colorado, is right there kind of at the base of the mountain, and it supposedly has the most even temperature of anywhere in the U.S.
Cold all the time.
No, it's actually just kind of stays about 70-ish
Really?
right in there.
Nice.
But you can drive an hour and be really warm to the south, or you can go up in the mountains for 35 minutes and be really cool, either way from your house.
Yeah.
And I always thought but Colorado has changed a lot in the last 20 years, and it's probably not where I'd retire now. But
Colorado's a good place to be from now.
Right, that's right.
Because you can't afford to live there now because the price of ground and everything is just out of sight.
Yeah, have you been out there at night lately, like going across 70 when you're coming in to that front range?
I was just out there it must have been early spring.
Yeah. I can't believe the change in it. Just, I think we lived there like 01, 02 time frame on the front range while she was setting her business up. We moved out of Wyoming, and or the business she managed wasn't hers, but now when you go out there at night, I mean, it's just a sea of lights all the way across the front of that state.
I remember when we was in high school, you went to Colorado Springs, and then up to, what's the next town up there? But anyhow, there was nothing from there all the way to Castle Rock. Then from Castle Rock, there was nothing all the way to Denver. Well, now it's just one steady.
Yep.
You can't tell where one ends and the other starts.
Yeah, all the way up to the Wyoming border. I mean,
Yep.
it's that way from Denver and Loveland and,
Yep.
you know,
Around up Cheyenne.
Fort Collins and,
Yep.
you know, even farther out into the feedlot country and
Yep.
stuff is all.
It's unbelievable. I didn't know where I was at half the time. Good thing the freeway went through there. I'd be lost.
Yeah.
No way I could have got off the freeway and went any place because I'd never found the freeway again. You know, it was just them big office buildings with the glass fronts and all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
That's ridiculous. You couldn't pay me to live out there around that area. You know, but if I would have, when I first started shoeing horses, if I'd have been smart, I'd have moved, you know, before it got real populated, up around Colorado Springs and Denver, so I wouldn't have had to drive. But
Yeah.
that's one reason I moved back here, because I was having to drive just everywhere, you
Sure.
know, to get to the horses.
That's when we were talking to Dale, I'd mentioned that with him that I think there's more professional farriers here than what there is, you know, especially Colorado has gotten, you know, more populated, and I think it's a little different there now, but like up in Wyoming, guys just kind of did their own or,
Right.
you know, and like you said, it's forever far in between
Yeah.
places to go and shoe and whatnot. And, you know, I like Illinois. I think we're kind of blessed in a way that the state's long from top to bottom, but
Yeah.
you know, most of the rodeos are fairly close together.
Yeah.
It was, you know, out there, and especially like Nebraska and Kansas and stuff. You know, and they split their rodeos, you know, on a weekend. So you will have a Saturday performance in high school and in one town, and then you may drive 3.5 hours to a different town for the Sunday performance.
Yeah.
And then drive all the way the wrong way back again to get home after you're done with it.
But like out there on the eastern side of the slope where they got the offer prairie and sagebrush,
Right,
you know, when you get away from it, there's nothing.
right.
You know, at least on the western slope, you know, around Gunnison and all those places, you know, it's nice and it's a lot better. You know, there's trees and
Yeah.
grass and mountains and streams, but on the east slope, that's not good.
No, I agree. We spent some time on the western side. We had a buddy who had a ranch there in Colburn for a while, and that's why I was asking you how you started off practicing and where you got to, you know, get on cattle and stuff like that. Because like in Colburn, they have a town arena there, and so like Tuesday night's calf roping night, Wednesday night's bull riding night, and like the town provides stock and stuff, and them kids all get to go in there, you know.
Well, that's a big advantage.
It is, ain't it? But, you know, we couldn't do that here. Me and Addison are, you know, a long ways apart, and, you know, it's just a different culture.
Well, it seemed like everybody that was in high school rodeo out there that roped had arenas in their backyard.
Yeah.
I had one in my backyard. I know all my buddies had arenas, you know, some sort of roping calves. Of course, my dad got them great big huge calves. He says, if you can throw them, you can throw the little ones. Well, I couldn't throw them big suckers. You'd be out there trying to leg them down and just unreal.
Were you getting off on the left or the right when you were in high school?
Left.
On the left.
Yeah.
And then would you duck the rope?
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah. I was a pretty good ducker under the rope.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I'd hang my head, you know, but I was pretty good at getting under the rope.
It teaches you a different fundamental technique.
Yeah.
You know,
You get off a lot closer to your horse. You know, you see some of these pictures of guys roping, they're way out there to the side. You
Yep.
didn't do that on the left side. You got off next to your horse,
Right.
so you could get your arm out there and go underneath that rope.
yeah.
And a lot of kids don't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
You know,
I
a
remember
lot of
when-
calf ropers.
Were they in the same box, team roping back then?
That was a team tie-in.
Team tying
We were in the same box.
and started in the same box.
Yeah, but then the team roping.
So when did dally roping start then?
Well, I remember when I was a kid, like in junior high, grade school, they were still team tie-in.
Yeah.
And then they just started shortly thereafter, team roping. You know, the horn wraps weren't invented yet. You know, people would take and put inner tube around their horns or a leather strap and buckle it on. But like the regular horn wraps were not, it took a long time for them to come into play. Some guy got smart.
Yeah.
You know, there was no roping dummies whatsoever.
Right.
if you did, you build it out of sticks and a 2x4 for horns, but all that stuff. But
Sure.
and a lot of those guys, I remember roped in tennis shoes, so they could run faster down the rope. Well, then I was just thinking about that this morning, about things that have changed so much, like you go to the rodeos and them calf ropers all be wearing tennis shoes. Well, then that wasn't cowboy. It took them a while before they made them wear boots.
Is that where that come around with the Western attire, so that
Yep.
everybody had to be in the?
Yeah,
in
I
the
think
same-
so, because them tennis shoes was a big deal,
Yeah.
and they made a big deal out of it. That then it come to Western attire, you had to have a long sleeve shirt and ball caps are out, cowboy hats are in,
Right.
But I remember some of those really fast calf ropers all wore tennis shoes. I'd go to the rodeos and watch them. Pretty soon they quit doing that. I know when I first moved back here from Colorado, I had a pair of ropers, the round-toed ropers, low-heeled. Everybody gave me a bunch of crap, like, what are you wearing shoes for? I said, this is the newest thing. These are called ropers. And everybody was still wearing the heeled boots, and
Right.
stuff like that. And it just eventually come from California, from the West Coast to the East Coast, and it finally made it here. But, then they all figured out that them low-heeled boots was a more comfortable thing to wear, still run down the rope and all that stuff. But, because I come back, everybody quiz me, what are you doing with shoes on? And riding horses. You'll get it, folks.
Always ahead of the times.
It's a different technique and style for sure. I mean, I think that some of the horsemanship part of it, with you see guys that stayed tied on, and how they handle rope, and you're pretty well pot committed if you're gonna be tied on that it needs to work right, or things are gonna get hurt. So that's I know the other guy that I'll interview him eventually, but he was a left side calf roper and made it into the Hall of Fame from out there. His technique held up, even when they switched and went to the right side, because he would work the rope so close to him,
Right.
going down and block his calves off. And
Yeah.
I seen him at a rodeo at
Who's this?
Tim Barkhurst. He was from up in Wyoming, but I seen him turn a flip going down the rope, and it's still like the presence of mind when you're ducking like that and still tie under 10.
Yeah.
That way. And he was upper 60s probably when I seen that happen, and still winning. That was the Wyoming Rodeo Association rodeo, but like that, it's, if you get a chance to see that type of stuff, YouTube is kind of neat that way, that there's some of that stuff that's showing up on YouTube, with the some of the old rodeos and some of that old footage, that you can go and find it now and watch how them guys rode. I think there's things that have improved, but
I think
there's some things that have been
nowadays
lost.
that they got bulls that, like Donnie Gay and all those guys, they talk about blah blah blah. I don't think they could tie their pants to some of these bulls they got nowadays. I mean, these are the rankest, most athletic animals on earth.
I can't believe that they don't just explode when they hit the ground from this
just-
high. That much weight,
Man.
and they get.
And they're so agile.
That's that buddy of mine from Colburn. He's down in Oklahoma now, and then that Stacy Addison has got like that Cool Whip bull, and they raise a bunch of them. Her and Tommy do down there in Oklahoma. I think he said they had 3 of the top 5 now.
Yeah.
So that's why they all ended up down there, and they just bucked out like 160 bulls at their place, with young bulls with dummies and some other bulls. And I mean, that if you can't see the bucking chutes underneath of them, that's a canner. They don't even want to look at them anymore.
Well, I know. I used to go to them rodeos, not to be a bull rider, but to watch, them high lopers, they got them rode. There was probably 2 or 3 in the herd that would be a little tough to ride. But these things nowadays, there ain't none of them that are easy to ride.
No.
If they do, they get a re-ride so they can kill them.
So, for a young person practicing, what would be your advice? How to practice, what to really focus on when you're practicing, the style and the way that you practice to try and make yourself better.
Well, I think on like on team roping, of course that's all I do anymore. I think if you go out and you rope 4 steers in a row, do good on all of them, or 5 or 6, whatever, you should quit. Because your horse is not tired, he's not hating his job, you did well. Don't go out and pick a fight with your horse. A lot of these guys, they go out and they miss. What's the first thing they do? Beat their horse, Beat him over the head, give him a whipping, That ain't good.
Right.
I think they over practice, over analyze everything, And if, like I'm to the point now, if I miss my last steer, so be it. I mean, I'd like to rope my last one. I'd like to rope my first one. But if I miss the last steer, I'm not going to go out and run that horse's guts out just to say, well, I caught my last one. Well, that's BS, because now all you're doing is going against your horse. It ain't helping him at all. But I think, you can over practice and under practice.
Yeah.
But I think a good practice session, if things go really good, quit. You've proved your point. Horse has proved his point.
That is the nice thing with dummies too, is you can slow it down and kind of and work practice without. I had a guy call me last night and asked me about kids practicing and horses and stuff, and I was like, well, you got a good horse, he don't need practice.
That's right.
All you're gonna do is irritate
Unless you've
him.
got a couple, 3 practice horses.
That's right, and that's
you can't see you running your good horse in the ground. I got one horse. I got to keep him.
Right. And that's, I kind of told them, as you need to get you a horse that, even if it ain't a team roping horse or whatever, that you can go out there and just get the feel and get right on, roping the dummy or whatever without, the good horse doesn't need to sit out there and do all that nonsense.
I got roping dummy with nobody to pull it. So I go out there and rope it sitting there in the pasture, in the arena. I catch it more than I miss because it ain't moving. I miss it occasionally too, but them dummies are a good thing.
Yeah, especially with the price of calves. We've been trying to find tie down calves and whatnot, and we raised some but like even raising them, I don't want to use them because they're so stinking expensive.
No kidding.
To go so the dummy can save you a bunch.
I remember when I was a kid, I have 2 older sisters, and they was going to help me practice, so I use them for calves. Until this horse I was roping on took off and drug one to the other end of the arena after I got her caught. She no longer was my practice calf no more. And she could run pretty good clip too. I was riding the barrel horse and not the rope horse, and he didn't stop, and I got off and she was, hang on, we'll get you. Oh, no. Lucky you run to the end of the arena, and that was the end of it, but it's about to get ugly.
What did you have for siblings?
I had a older brother and 2 older sisters.
So you were the youngest of them, so they probably weren't impressed with your decision making.
No. When I was a kid, I had a really good barrel horse.
Yeah.
A really good one. And I was still roping, but I did have this bay horse that was a super horse, barrel horse, so I'd let my sisters ride him. The youngest of the 2 sisters. They're stepsisters, but anyhow, they were sisters to me. But now the youngest one, she could go out and just kick their butts. We was making money off of him because she's giving me part of the money. And the older sister, she wanted to run barrels so bad. She just craved run, and she's 80 years old now, and she still wants to run barrels.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so we'd say, all right, Patty, you can ride old buddy. She couldn't outrun a stick. It was terrible, but she really wanted to run barrels. And I went out and saw her this year, and that's all she talks about is running barrels.
Where does she live?
Penrose, Colorado, back where I grew up.
Yeah.
And married to a horseshoer. He must have a pile of used horseshoes, put them in his backyard. Every time he'd come home at night, he'd unload his. He must have a pile of horseshoes as big as your pickup.
I'll be.
Unbelievable.
that is the crazy thing too, from here to out there, that a lot of people and young people that are here that, haven't been out there, stuff doesn't go away out there. You pile up a set of used horseshoes here, it'll sink in the black dirt.
That's right.
You'll have half a pickup in 3 years, and the bottom half's all rusted away.
That's right.
But out there, you can take a truck, park it behind the shed, and go back and get it 15 years later, and if the mice ain't been in it, or pack rats or something like that, everything's kind of the way you left it, maybe sunburnt, but...
He had a pair of saddlebags that I made when I was in high school. I don't know how he wound up with them, or my sister wound up with them. I don't know how the deal was. Anyhow, I went out there this spring or last fall, I don't know. And he says, "Hey," he says, "I got a set of saddlebags here that you made way back when." He said, "Would you like to have them?" I said, "Yeah, I'd like to have them just to look at it,
Yeah.
They're out in the garage. They're a little crude, but they've lasted all this time out there."
Mm-hmm.
That's neat when tack lasts like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing that an animal hide can survive.
I got a couple of trophy saddles down there in the barn. One of them I won in '62 and the other in '63. That still, you can go ride them.
Yeah. What'd you win them in?
All around.
All around.
I didn't bulldog though.
Didn't bulldog. Without bulldogging, still won the all around.
No bulldogging.
Well, John, it has been great sitting down with you.
Oh, it's been fun.
We won't keep you here all day. We've got to get home and check some cows, and it's our 25th anniversary today.
Well,
so
congratulations.
we made it this far. We don't need to have a wreck this afternoon.
I never did make 25 years.
It's I don't. I think it costs less money maybe to work problems out than having to give some of it away. But I've been fortunate.
I'm paying for this house again.
Well, thank you.
Or
Learned a
welcome.
lot.
I don't even. Like I said, I try and end with kind of what you've meant to me, and obviously Addison's got a different take of it, but. We covered it a little bit earlier, but just the way you keep your outfit, when I say outfit, I mean, tack and horse and, not just your truck and trailer, but obviously that's clean too. I got to ask you too, are you still, this is something from back, you talked years ago, you still pull the decals on your pickups?
Oh yeah.
Do you? Tell our listeners why you do that.
Well, I just hate decals. I don't know how I got into it, but you'll see these things that's got, I even pulled them off my horse trailer. I don't even know where my horse trailer come from. I don't like things interfering with, like, it's a pretty truck. Why would I mess it up putting decals on it? Wherever I buy one, the guy says, "You want to put our logo on it?" And the owner says, because I bought a bunch of Fords down there, he says, "Nope, I don't want my name on it either." So they pull all the logos off of it. If it didn't come that way, I don't want them on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, your professionalism with how you keep your horses and your tack and how you rope and your demeanor, and I've never seen you ever have a fit, on something even when it ain't going right, and type
Well,
of a
I'll
deal.
tell you I'm 76. Never had a drink in my life.
Yeah.
Don't smoke. Obviously don't do drugs. I hope. Unless somebody slipped me something. But I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot of downfall that have come from drinking and that type of stuff that you see in people. Way more than good things that have happened because they were drinking.
I got a side job now. I go down to that branded Western store in Peoria. You ever been there?
Yep.
I'm the hat shaper now.
Yeah, I had heard that you were down there.
Yeah, I go down there about once a month, once every 3 weeks.
If a person's going to get a really good hat, what should they be buying?
Well, I think American makes good hat.
Yeah.
I think Resistol makes good hat. Then those other ones, handmade hats, are all good. And I've been noticing that Rodeo King's starting to come up in the list of pretty good hats.
How do they classify? Is it because that's the thing that I like? You'll have one that's 10,000x and then one that's 3x. How does a guy know that you're getting a good hat?
Here's a new Rodeo King. I just got this hat. 25x. You know, anybody can take a little gold marker and put X's
They
in their
did
hat.
too. They put every X in there too, didn't they? Just in case you can't read the 25, all the
You
rest
can
of
count
them.
them all.
And I'm thinking, what's the difference between a 25X straw hat and a 4X straw hat? It's just something they put in there.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes X's matter and sometimes they don't. You know, it's like I bought a Resistol that was a 200X hat. It's just a hat, except they could charge more money for it.
Yeah.
It didn't feel to me like no different than nothing.
Really? So, like a guy like you that can shape them and stuff, you don't feel much difference in that.
I can
felt
feel
and stuff?
like the good ones from the bad ones.
Yeah.
And the X's, you know, like the X's mean a little, you know, but if you got a good body to them hats, you know, you can have a 6 or a 10X hat and still have ones as good as a 20X hat. I think that's the way I am.
I remember going out to the timed events for the first time, and we go to, I think it was Langston's maybe, and
Yep.
where I got my first hat that like I ever had. So I walk up and I have my hat, and I walk up to the guy to like shape it. And Uncle John's standing next to me, and he's standing there, and he's like looking at it, and he's like, "Well, why don't I just come back there and shape it for you?" Tells the guy that's shaping the hat, Uncle John.
That guy didn't like it either.
No, he did not. He's like, "Sir, you can't do that."
You can't shape the hats. He's got his little ruler out there and he's doing this and this, and we're sitting there, this ain't right. He wouldn't let us shape the hats, would he?
No.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That was funny.
I wanted to go when we were going down and working finals and that type of stuff in Oklahoma City when it was before it went to the Lazy E. When it was in Oklahoma City, there's that Shorty's hattery down there. That
It's big time.
yeah, I don't know what they use for their classification, but they want pretty decent money. But they got that French head sizer, and I have a kind of a weird head. I don't know if it's from impacts or what it is, but
Sudden stop.
sudden stops from different directions, right? But it has all these pins that they set it on top, and then it locks in, and they can make that. And they say you're supposed to be able to run a butter knife all the way around your head, and then your hat not come off in 30-mile-an-hour breeze.
I got a Shorties I bought from him down there. I bought a 20X from him. And now, you know, like I said, they got the 1,000, the 500, and all that stuff.
Right.
But it was, I mean, your dad was down there, and Dave. And I said, I'd buy this hat, but it's just a shade too tight. He said, we can fix that. And he put it on that machine and stretched it out. It's perfect. Those guys do a good job. The reason I didn't mention Shorties before is because they're so damn expensive.
They are expensive.
I mean, you're paying for the name a lot, but they do make nice hats. Most cowboys can't afford them. Horse show people all wear Shorties. If you don't wear a Shorties hat in a horse show, you just ain't dressed. You just
Yeah.
will be running out there naked.
If they fit good and you don't lose them, and if
Yeah.
you don't steer wrestle and get them tore up, steer wrestle and get them stomped a bunch.
That's right.
You can kind of justify it, I think, a little bit because I've got hats that I've had since the 90s. I got one old black Stetson hat that looks like it's got the mange that I've had, since then.
I
So if
think
you break it
Stetson-
down by,
I think Stetson used to make a better hat than they do now.
I would agree with that.
Don't you think?
And I think even then they were starting to tail off, but I was young and poor. That's what I could afford. And,
I got like 5 Atwoods.
yeah.
That the only bad thing about Atwoods is they vary in sizes. You can buy one size too big, buy the same hat, another one just right. That's the only thing I got against. I got those 50s in the Atwoods,
Yeah.
and they all shape up good, hold their shape good, but the size that's what I don't agree with I don't know how they size them up, but there's no two of them alike.
Sure. What's the best way to care for a felt hat?
Well, like I got a hat tree over here, and if I don't like to leave them in a can, because they can fall down. This way there's no pressure on nothing. Like these hats here, I just got them hanging on the chair.
Right.
Nothing touches the front or the back.
Sure.
But if I'm like I go to Arizona, I take them hats with me or a hat, and I'll put it in a hat can. But once I get there, I take it out and hang it up, or make sure you always put it upside down.
Yeah.
And you got to buy, like down there at that store, you wouldn't believe who's going to be listening to this. Some of these hats come in there like 2X felt hats that there's absolutely nothing. And everybody that seems like that has one of them old hats, I'll go, I'm going to take it down there and he's going to shape it up and it's going to look like new.
Right.
It don't work that way.
No.
I mean, it's like they say, it's hard to make chicken salad out of chicken dung, you know, but
Right.
that's the way it is with these hats. Some of them are just total roach nothing.
Right.
And you can't, there's no salvage. But a good hat, you know, when it's got a good body to it, you can kind of take and put it back together again and make it look nice.
Nah, I had a decent Rodeo King hat that we were riding together, a bunch of guys going to Oklahoma City, and the luggage fell over on my hat. And got down there, and I was pretty irritated that had happened. And I took it into Shorty's, and I said, you know, is there anything you can do with this? And he goes, well, that's good enough quality. He said, we can make that. And they did too. They brought it right back around, and and it rode from here to from Illinois to Oklahoma with a couple heavy things like bouncing in the dually on the way down there on top of it. So.
When I moved here from Illinois, I had probably 4 hats in the back of my little topper on my truck. The door flew open on the camper. Hats were gone.
Oh no!
So I backtracked. Found them in the ditches, you know, but it didn't hurt them. You know, but it was lucky I found the hats again, you know. Never did
That
lose them.
happens to a lot of people, John. Or maybe me and you are more alike than maybe it doesn't happen to a lot of people. But when we got married here, so 25 years ago, Jennifer flew out to Wyoming and then was going to ride back with me. And I got a little U-Haul because I was going to live here for 6 months while she was doing wedding prep and whatnot, just so that we could kind of be together more than just flying in for the wedding type of a deal. And we had to go through Oberg Pass up in Wyoming, which is just a gravel road in between Elk Mountain and Code Mountain. And I had a little U-Haul trailer, and that little latch hook thing that flops down on them bounced. I didn't have a padlock in it or nothing, in the way to steal my junk anyhow. But it bounced going up through there, and it's 35, 40 miles probably on that gravel road, getting up between them two mountains. And it bounced in that door, you know, they got them like spring loaded, so it just rolled up. So all that uphill 6-7% grade, I unloaded all my stuff, John, on that gravel road. All the way through there, we got over to the town of Elk Mountain, and I had an empty U-Haul trailer. Got over.
That's as bad as losing your horse out of your horse trailer.
But fortunately, there's so little traffic. I'm like guns and gun cases and stuff laying on the gravel road.
Really?
We went back all the way, tracked back there. Nobody come through there. So I can appreciate like what you were saying.
Story I've heard.
It made my stomach hurt a little bit when I got to Elk Mountain, but
Bet.
so I think it helped in our relationship though, because she got exposed to me at my worst right off the bat.
And
Like, I don't know about all this.
And bought lots. Or at least snaps.
Right.
They don't cost much, Matt.
I think if I remember right, like I took a chunk of wire off of something right there along the side of the road or something and wired that shut. And after that
cows are
happened.
now grazing someplace else. Cut the fence.
Right. Well, we better let you go, John, and we sure appreciate you sitting down.
That was fun.
And doing this, and more so that that you took the time, you know, as a young man to start something that everybody enjoys now, you know, with the high school rodeo. If people don't go out of their way to try and help somebody else out, you know, we wouldn't have had all this.
That's right. You know, the two guys, the one guy owned a Western store, and then that attorney, they're the main guys. And to this day, I'm trying to remember their names. I have one's first name was Don. And I can't remember what the other guy's name was, but that's like 50-some years ago. However long they've had high school rodeo, that's how long it's been.
So your Addie's mom went back and dug it up because she's the secretary, found the minutes from that first stuff that's got your guys' names all listed on it as being, you know, the charter founding members.
When was it?
I think it was 73. Isn't that what it said on there?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's about right.
Me and Casey got to looking at it after you and him were talking.
Yeah.
And he was shocked because all the time that he's been with you
That's
and
what
I've
he
been
said.
around you and stuff, but
That's
we
what
didn't
he
know
said.
that. You're
never came
you're
up.
you're the reason for everybody giving away their money in
That's right.
in Illinois and
Yeah.
in rodeo for all these years. So
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Yep, that was been a long time ago.
well, we appreciate it, John. Thanks a
Thank
lot
you.
for sitting down with us, and we'll see you. And if you get a chance and you're at a team roping and see John, pay attention to the way his stuff looks, because that's the way. If you're gonna do it right, that's the way your stuff ought to look. So,
Hopefully.
all right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.